Hello everyone, this is Plankera, and welcome to my universe. Today, I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So last time, I worked on getting kind of this area of her side bang right. I was taking a look at the corners. Oh, hello there, Avalel. How are you doing today? Yes, I was taking a look at how things are going from the center all the way to the corner, and there's a couple of things that I think I will fix there. Particularly in the upper right, I'm not quite sure what's happening. That's not what I expected to see, so probably gonna have to poke at that quite a lot. Alright, well, I'll start in the lower left because that one seems simpler. Gotta start with something relatively simple here. So over here, I don't think it's anything serious. This part at the top there, just a little bit too poofy. So I'll tuck that in, and I think that should solve the problem. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Got super comfy on the couch before stream and almost fell asleep. It's okay, it's a good way to be. I swear, that couch is like a absolute black hole sometimes. You just get sucked into it and you can't get out. Okay, yeah, there we go. I think that's better. Didn't take much at all. Let's check the upper left as well. But no, I think upper left is doing alright. At this point, I'm kind of getting into the final details of all of this, so I'm checking very closely to make sure that everything is the way that I want it to be. It's looking like someday soon I might actually finish my head turns. Been derping around with them for a long time. Okay, now I can figure out what the heck is going on here. So when I look at this, it's going from this center point, just the default, all the way to the upper right, kind of following along the diagonal instead of moving around like this. But it's like this entire area over here is moving up and to the left. And it's very strange because I never noticed anything like that while I was actually working on this before. So I'm gonna have to think about how I want to go about tackling that, because I don't think I want to leave it like that. I want her head to be able to move around freely and have the entire thing look three-dimensional. Can I get away with just, like, I don't know, selecting all the vertices through here and probably like this, and then grab all the way down and just move them all like this and then straighten it out a little bit later? Never mind the bald spot. Oh, wait, I just did that in the wrong. I did that in the wrong keyframe. I was gonna say, never mind the bald spot, but yeah, that was not the right keyframe. Let's try that again. Okay. And once again, I will worry about fixing the bald spots later. But first, I just kind of want to make sure that this is in a good spot. See if that fixed some of my issues. Fixed most of them, actually. Once I fix the strand running through here, that should actually be okay. Okay. That's gonna make this less of a pain than I thought it would. So now I can just go and touch up the couple of areas that didn't translate quite right. When I was looking at this morning, I was actually very happy to see how good this area that I worked on yesterday was looking throughout all of the directions. So I was a little bit sad when I checked the corners and just saw this flying out somewhere, like I didn't have any idea what was going on. But it's alright. Just gotta adjust it slightly. Okay, landing up there. How about from here? Fascinating. Okay. So now I see when I go from the right to the upper right that it looks like this part is rising somehow. I'm gonna have to think about that. While I do that, I'll go ahead and just take some of these other areas and fill in the gaps here so she doesn't have any bald spots anymore. And try to fix some of the areas around the strand. Just so that there's no distractions while I try to figure out what's happening here. Because it's very easy to get distracted by random squirming in places completely unrelated to the area that I'm trying to fix. If I just see all these things moving out of the corner of my eye. Alright, and I think the next step is going to be in figuring out how to fix this strand here. Because I think I might need to pull some of this in a slightly different direction. So I'll go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of this wrinkly bit here. The unfortunate casualty in my moving things around all at once. Because this was an area that could not be moved in the same way. Okay. So now that all of that is smoothed out, let me make sure it's in the right place. Probably not. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna have to push this over quite a bit, it looks like. Let me see if it's in the right place along here. Yeah, still kind of having that same issue. Actually, there's a lot of things kind of having that issue when I go from the center across the diagonal. I'm gonna have to really watch that on this turn, aren't I? Okay. Okay, this turn, I'm gonna have to really check the center. For the most part, I've just been making sure that they translate well when I just slide in every direction, but I hadn't been checking the center quite as thoroughly. So, gotta make sure I do that, especially for this one. The other ones I thought were doing pretty okay. But this one is not. This one requires some extra attention. To an extent, that is also something that I expected. Because all the other turns, I kind of smoothed them out and got them looking pretty decent before going into this pass that I'm doing now. But for the upper right, I didn't actually do that. I decided that I wanted to try something else partway through getting this right, so it never got smoothed out quite the same way that the other ones did. Okay, that's doing a little bit better now. And I think once I finish adjusting this, I'm immediately gonna go in to over here, because over there is having some problems. It's very squirmy. Oh my. Okay. But one thing at a time. I gotta stop myself from getting distracted by that over there. One thing at a time. I wanna fix this part. If it starts distracting me too much, I might just let myself go work on it a little bit. But with any luck, I can finish this part that I'm working on first. Gotta rein the brain in sometimes. Focus on this one part. Right now I'm trying to see how much I can get away with in terms of stretching out this gap between the highlights here. Because I feel like if I can stretch it out just a little bit, it'll make the hair look a little bit more three-dimensional. But if I stretch it out too far, it'll just look wrong. It'll make the hair look like it's sliding around, moving with no rhyme or reason, as opposed to three-dimensional, and that's just not what I want. So I'm trying to push it as far as I can. I'm not worried about the strands being a little bit wrinkly. They will have to be fixed in a little while. Right, I might actually have to adjust the front bank a little bit before I can sanely finish off the rest of this area. Because what I'm seeing now is the way that the side of the bank here is brushing up against this area, and it doesn't look right, and I think it's stopping me from figuring out what the issue is with that clump of side hair up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the obvious things that I see here as being problems. And I'll see where it goes from there. For this part, I'm actually not going to worry about the details too much. I'm just going to try to get things into a reasonable place. Enough that it stops squirming on me and I feel like I can dig back into over here. I want to finish that side bang before I get too far into anything else. That said, the thing that I plan on doing after the side bang is indeed this area right over here, including this front bang and then these other little parts through here that I think add interesting 3D effects when they're done right. So I don't mind working on them a little bit here, 'cause they were next anyway. I've decided that I wanted to really dig into the parts that I thought made the hair look a little bit more three-dimensional. And getting those, like, perfect was going to be my next goal. And then I can design, or not design. At this point, I think the hair is basically already well put together in all my angles, but I can kind of perfect the rest of the hair around those very important parts. A little bit sad of having to move this quite so much, because I get the feeling that it means I'm going to have to make a lot of adjustments on the right and the lower right as well, in order to make sure that they line up properly. And I kind of liked the effect that I had on the highlight of the bang here on my right turn. I'm guessing it already probably looks kind of weird. Yeah, not as bad as I expected, but definitely going to have to make some changes. Okay, at least I get to keep the best part. While I'm here, how does the other corners look? In that area. Yeah, they're not sliding as much as the one up here, so that's good news. Hello there, Inochi2D. I'm going through and doing more hair stuff, but it's alright, it's getting better every day. I noticed that there was something very off about how things were on the diagonal. So I'm going in and fixing that now. Oh no. What'd she do? I'm always amazed by how flat the top of this bang is. It looks so nice and poofy right through here, but it's actually, the angle on it is actually quite flat. Look at that. It's a little bit round here and then flat. Ah, I see. They do kind of look similar, don't they? Ah, well, it's not very nice of them to lie to you like that. I see. Admittedly, I don't know what goes into that, so very much a type of food that I am not super familiar with. My hair is very straight. I drew it like that. I think hair like that looks pretty. So I drew myself hair that I thought looked good. It's got pretty lights in it too. I think it's interesting how many different hair textures are out there. And just all the things that hair can do. Yeah, this character has pretty curly tips in her hair too. I think they look nice. I just like the way this artist draws hair in general. So I've been taking my sweet time to rig it just right. With as well drawn and pretty as it is, I think it'd just be a shame if I didn't get it looking really nice. Alright, the hair around here is still definitely very crunchy and will need a lot of touching up. But I think it's probably good enough for me to go back to working over here. So at the very least it will not be distracting me. Yes, seems a bit more correct now. And just very messy. But it's okay. That's how all art starts out. If you try to be neat right from the beginning, it's just gonna be painful and take forever. Better to be messy and then gradually work your way towards neatness. Okay, let's take another look over here. Because, yeah, it looks like the outer edge of the front bank here is just a little bit too floofy. Made it a little bit too round yesterday. Not surprising. Because yesterday I was lining it up based on its location, like, further out here, when it was in the wrong spot. So now that I have this more in the right spot, this is now no longer correct. That's alright, I haven't had any trouble understanding you. Well, I mean, you have to remember that native English speakers learn it as babies. So, starting from the beginning is always very useful. Maybe this is just something that I feel personally because I have very young children, one of which only recently started talking. And I guess recently in the past 6 months. So I've been watching his speech development, and it's been very interesting. But if you're unsatisfied with how you're being taught in school, there's lots and lots of language learning resources out there on the internet that you can always try. Some of them are even free. I've been using a lot of free language learning resources to learn Japanese and brush up on my Spanish. So, they're out there, if you ever just want to look for them. Nice. Yeah. If you want to learn the language, that is always an option. And if you are, or rather, I should say, it's a good thing to do, you know, get as much exposure as you can. But if you find yourself unsatisfied with it, well, you can take matters into your own hands and look for alternate options. I think that is a good way to be, too. It's always good to go chase after your goals, and if you feel like the world around you is not giving you what you want, well, go find another way. The internet is just fantastic for that, because, man, there's just so much stuff out there. And I mean, you're here talking to me a lot, so that probably helps you learn English too. Yeah, I'm finding myself having to adjust quite a lot of things over here now that I've pushed this back to where I think it makes more sense. So now I'm just gonna slowly push these poofy parts back in until I am satisfied with how floofy her hair is. Oh, actually pushed it a little bit too much there. That's good. It means I have found the limit. It's right around here. So now I can very gently push things back out again. Make this area just a little bit rounder, and I'm sure that will look nice once I get it just right. Yeah, right there seems good. Now then, I'm gonna get this strand running down here into place. So I think that'll give me the next big clue as to how all of this should work out. So let's take a look. Okay, right now it looks like it's a little bit too high up here. How about the bottom? Bottom is maybe slightly too high at most, and the bottom of the strand here needs to be just a touch lower. Alright, let's start lowering everything down then. Can I use the brush? I'm not actually sure. It might be... Okay, looks like we're good. Because I don't really want to touch the outer edge of the hair. I think the outer edge is looking good. So I'm just gonna push this down just a little bit. Not too much. And then down here needs to come down quite a bit. Okay. Okay. And then I feel like the outer edge is still poofing a little bit too much. So I will go ahead and push that back down too. I do really like to make this bang poofy, so I gotta watch myself. Okay, that looks like it created a little bit of a bald spot, so I'm gonna go ahead and just fill that in right now. Okay. Looking good, I think. So now I can just kind of go in and start focusing on getting some of these shapes right, and that was not it. Okay. There we go. Just kind of wanted to move that entire top part there. And here it's not so much in the wrong spot, but there was just a little angle here that was a little bit too poofy. Because we're in extreme detail territory here. Welcome back. Alright, I think that's doing much better. Yeah, definitely much better. Okay. I have parts that I want to straighten out in this, but I think I will do up here first. And this time I am only paying attention to the diagonal. If I need to adjust anything else in my right and top turns, I will do that after. The edge of the strand is always a little bit tricky. Part of me kind of wishes that I added an extra vertex there to handle it rather than relying on this one, but at the same time, I'm not actually sure how much it would have helped me. More musings for my future self so I can figure out how to mesh things better. This tends to be how I go about figuring out what I want to do for future things. I just think about which areas are giving me trouble. Like, I remember back when I was a baby artist, I had lots and lots of trouble with arms. Still do to an extent, just not as much. So, one of the things that I figured out was, okay, I'll take a look at arm anatomy and that kind of thing, and that helped to an extent, but basically I figured out what arms are all about, and it made it a little bit easier to handle, just because I recognized it as a pain point in my process. And I think that kind of thing is the first step. Just figure out what's making you unhappy when working on your current thing, and be like, yes, that is something I want to pay attention to on the next one. Alright, I'm gonna go all the way across now. Just going all the way across the diagonal, and I actually think it looks pretty alright. So I am on the right track. Feels good. Here I was talking about, you know, how to approach things when things are going wrong. But it is nice when things are going right. And I do think it is just as important to pay attention to those parts that are going right as it is the parts going wrong. Because when something's going right, you know you can do it again. When it comes to iteration, a lot of it is just a matter of figuring out, what can I do again? The hair here is always kind of interesting. Another case of this artist uses a lot of straight lines. I never noticed it until I really started getting deep into rigging. So everything here looks so soft. So I thought that there'd be a lot more curved lines, but no, there's actually quite a lot of straight lines. I don't think I even noticed it quite this strongly when I was trying to redraw parts of it, since I had to do a lot of void filling and whatnot when I was cutting this out initially. I just think it's very interesting looking at the types of shapes that people use. See, this is why I have tons and tons of styles. Because I just look at things and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Let's try it. Sorry about that. Bumped my microphone. I'm not sure what it is about this angle that is being so difficult with me right now. I think I'm gonna go stop there. Not stop the stream, but stop working at this angle for a little bit and go look at some other ones. I want to go ahead and take a look at the front bang here. We'll do the left side. And just start really perfecting the areas around there. I feel like the left side is already looking pretty good. It's like I don't think I want to take a look at the right side right now because, yeah, this is going to be a thing. And I don't feel like working on the upper right now. Gotta take a little break from that one. So I'll just do the left. Okay. So I'm going to start with this highlight here, just because I think it determines many things for areas over here. So like this highlight will help me figure out how wide this area should be, for example, which will determine a lot of stuff that I do down here. And down here is kind of the area that I want to do next. So let's get started. And for anyone interested in doing art, you can see that there I was getting a little bit... I think frustrated is a strong word for what I was feeling there. But things were going quite well and I kind of wanted some time to think on it. But I didn't want to stop, and I didn't think I had to stop. So, when feeling like that, that's a good time to just, you know, jump to another thing. Another area that you can work on. So in this case, I'm just going to go look at the front bang on the left head turns. And I can revisit the upper right and all the problems that I'm having with it tomorrow. Where hopefully I will have a fresh brain. And I can kind of think on ideas for how to fix some of the problems that I'm having tomorrow. Or, you know, the rest of today, so I can actually work on it properly tomorrow. Sometimes taking breaks is helpful. And in my case, I'm, you know, live streaming this process, so I don't want to just stop the stream because I'm having a problem. I want to keep going, if I can. So I'm just jumping to another area. If you find yourself stuck and just need some time to think on something, that's a good time to take a little break, maybe go to the bathroom, go for a walk, do something that helps you think, and just take your eyes off of it for a bit and revisit it with a fresh brain. Actually, thinking about it, I had a similar thing with writing. In this case, I've been struggling with certain bits of one of my character's motivations. Because she doesn't think very hard about things. She just kind of goes. And I've written characters like that before, but she takes it to a whole new level. Like in terms of just YOLO. Very emotionally driven, which is not something I write quite as often. I do sometimes. I do have characters like that. But in particular, I was having trouble figuring out the things that she was most afraid of. And I actually do think that figuring out fears is very important for figuring out character motivations. Because a lot of what makes people fear things, it comes in a few categories. One of which is the basic things, like, what's gonna kill you? This is why we're worried about people bigger than us, and can be intimidated by those kinds of things, or by bears, wild animals, and other things that could very easily hurt us. Or high places and that kind of thing. And then there's another type where, for whatever reason, you just find it unpleasant. This is where you get some people that are afraid of frogs, for example. Or, I forget exactly what this fear is called, but the fear of things with many holes. So some people get weirded out by de-seeded pomegranates and stuff, for example. And that kind of stuff won't necessarily hurt you, but for whatever reason, you just find it unpleasant. And then there's the third type, which I think is a little bit more existential. Of the kind of fears that really motivate you, like the fear of failure, or letting people down, and that kind of thing. And that was more the kind that I was searching for. But it was really hard to do with this character, because I feel like that kind of existential dread requires thinking about the future, which is not really something that she does. So I had a very hard time pinning down the motivation there. But it was very important that I did, because I could tell that she was acting on something, but I just couldn't really tell what it was. And it took me several days of sitting down and thinking about it, just running through scenarios in my mind and that kind of thing, and after a while I just wouldn't really be able to think anymore, so that would be when I'd get up and do something else. And just kind of let the thought percolate in my brain a bit, and see what ideas came up, and eventually I was indeed able to do it. So sometimes you can't force it out. And in the stage of the story that I'm at, I really want to hammer down my character's motivations. So I couldn't really jump to something else or anything. So I would just make a point of work a little bit on that every day. Do it with minimal distraction. And just see what I could come up with. And eventually I was able to get there. So that is a thing too. Sometimes you do just need a break. The idea might come eventually. And I was contrasting that with what I'm able to do here, which is I'm having trouble with the upper right. I have some stuff I kind of want to think on for it. Or, at the very least, I kind of want to have a fresh brain when I approach it again, since I'm having a little bit of trouble now. So I'm going in and working on a different spot instead. That is also something you can do. If you're able to do that, great. But sometimes you really do just have to let the ideas sit in your brain and churn around and make random connections. And by the way, the character fear that I ended up settling on that made sense for her was actually loss. I was particularly worried about death and whatnot. Like, not her own, but with other people and other people losing things important to them. And then I was able to make connections to a bunch of other scene ideas that I had before, and I was like, yes, this makes sense. But it actually took me a little while to find the right idea there. By the way, I gotta say, if you're ever curious about finding more out about yourself than you ever wanted to know, try writing a book. Doesn't even have to be like a biography or nonfiction or anything. The characters and ideas that kind of come up when you try writing a book, they say a lot about you. It's very therapeutic. I've been enjoying it very much. Man, all the hair near her face. It's all so much more detailed than the hair everywhere else. So going through it always takes a long time. But I think it's worth it to take my time here. But I think this is looking pretty good now. Still have a little bit of weird expansion going on up there. I think it's less expansion and more that I just need to spread out the vertices by the shadows, so that this way the shadow is a little bit thicker. So just kind of pull them apart a bit. You know, the way that I have my mesh setup, I can control the width of that line just by separating out the vertices a little bit. Yeah, trying to find the right balance between this little purple shadow and this more reddish shadow right there. Surprisingly delicate. But I think I'm finding it. Yeah, it definitely looks much better now. I'm not going to worry about this part up here too much yet. I just kind of want to focus down here. If it starts bothering me enough, I might change my mind. Just because, well, you know. I let my brain do what it wants sometimes. But for the most part, I'm more interested in the stuff down here, the stuff that makes things look a little bit more 3D. There's not a lot I can do with this area. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to smooth out this entire shadow here. Get all that looking nice. Or just my leg here. There we go. It wanted to be at a different angle now. But yeah, I think I have the highlights there looking good, so now I can indeed just go in and really get the curve on this part of her bangs looking nice. I think it's probably like 90% of the way there, maybe even a little bit more. I just got a couple of areas that I want to adjust very lightly. As you can see here, it kind of dips down, and I don't think that's right. Yeah. Oh. Missed my button. So yeah, kinda dips down a bit right here, so I just want to lift it up a little bit. Going hard on the details. Okay, yeah, I think that's... Is that about right? Do I want to adjust the bottom of this curve anymore? No. Yeah, what I was looking at was the angles on just the default here. You can see it curves like this, and then, once again, this part is actually kind of straight. So, I have it here where it goes down, and then indeed, this part is kind of straight. So I do think I have it right. And I like how this tiny little red part, it's a little bit more visible here. There's this tiny little lighter pink spot. And it gets smaller as she turns her head to the left, and I think that looks good. So I think I might have everything that I want to do in that area correct now. Yeah, I think so. Alright, let's check up and down. Especially down, because down doesn't have to worry about the upper right that I still need to fix tomorrow. Now's the point where I do not skimp out on any details, so I'm going to be looking at this very, very closely. But honestly, I feel like this one's already pretty close. I went pretty hard on the bangs on most angles already. The only reason that the left had any work to do at all was just because I moved this highlight quite a lot, and I didn't move it nearly as much on my up and down turns. Not nearly as much at all. So I actually feel like this area is looking pretty good. Don't really have a lot to change here. And it's possible as I go through and start adjusting other areas that maybe there'll be some things I want to adjust here again. That's kind of how, well, any visual art works in general, I think. Where, as you change some things, it makes your picture look, or sculpture, or whatever else you happen to be poking at, look different. And thus, because it looks different, you might see different things. But once again, I'm going very, very hard on the details here. So a lot of what remains is just very, very small things. But I think they make enough of a difference in this area, at least, that it's worth poking at. Get everything just right. Maybe less so on the sides, but in the front, yeah. I want to get everything just right. Right, and then I think once I finish adjusting the hair here, finishing up these last couple of details that I'm seeing, I think that's where I will stop for today. I'd like to go poke at the upper right again before I start, well, poking at the up and the right. Fix some of the issues that I have there that I know may end up changing some things on some of the other angles. So let's get these last couple of angles all correct, and I think that'll be good for today. Didn't make quite as much progress as I was hoping for because there were just a lot of problems on that upper right angle. But it's alright. Hopefully tomorrow I can get them all figured out and just continue on my merry way. And I think the last thing is this tiny, tiny little strand coming right out of it here. I felt like it was just a little bit crooked. So I want to smooth it out a little bit. Yeah, and I think that's fine. No, it's still a little crunchy at the bottom. I changed my mind. I think I can do a little bit better than that. Whoa there. And getting very eager in adjusting things. How is that vertex supposed to look here? Okay. Yeah, roughly even. So I don't have to be afraid about lifting it up there. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So I will stop here for today. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I'll see you all tomorrow.